Hey, I'm John, and I just finished watching Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and boy, I'm tired of this. So, I have to apologize a little bit for the previous film that I did the review for, which was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I was a little too concerned with the politics of the day, and my head was clouded in judgment, which means to say that I was very much sidetracked, and all I could see was the fascists winning. I didn't even talk about the ending where what's-her-name got thrown to the centaurs, and I was just meandering and really focused about fascism in my head and totalitarianism, because I'm worried about the way of the world right now. So I just started watching this film with an entire big reset button. It's been about 3 or 4 days since I've watched the previous one, and I figured, okay, clean slate, I'm gonna like it now. We're in the home stretch. So when I started Half-Blood Prince today, I was ecstatic to get back to a positive mentality about this franchise. Watch my other videos about this whole thing. I've done every film so far, and I've progressively gotten attached to the characters, but I'm also just questioning the storytelling that's had to be adapted from the book into a film. Sometimes these aren't done well. The Half-Blood Prince is an example of that. So we start off with Harry, the world knowing that Harry is the chosen one, and everybody's accepted that now. Everybody. After that whole debacle with Ministry of Magic and everything. We've hit a reset on that. There have been random Death Eater attacks in the regular world in London. Killed random things. We aren't quite sure why. It just happens. Harry's, he's just, he's a teen, man. The kid just wants to have some fun, and his idea of fun is trying to connect with this girl who was at the train station. And immediately you get Dumbledore. Cock blocks Harry. He had a date right after she got out of work at 11. Dumbledore shows up and says, nah, you're coming. Dumbledore uses Harry to his advantage because he goes and visits Horace Slughorn, which was a potions professor at Hogwarts before, and now is trying to get him back into teaching at Hogwarts. So they get him by getting to him first because the Death Eaters have been trying to kill random people apparently, or something that to do with Hogwarts, and they've been trying to get to him. Dumbledore's like, okay, well, your safest place is at Hogwarts with us. Come back and teach. He doesn't want to do that. Brings Harry along with him as bait, which is something that's going to happen throughout the entire film, by the way. The film interpretation of Slughorn, as you will find out, first is odd, because he likes to meet his students and he knows his best and brightest, and then you end up realizing he just kind of collects them, which is creepy enough. I'll allude to what I'm trying to say a little bit later. So Dumbledore's like, okay, well, I'm just showing up. You're not gonna come to the college, but I'm just showing up anyway. I have Harry. Harry's a great student. You know Harry. He's the chosen one by now. Ooh, so bye. We'll talk later. Really, it's just bait for him to get back. So Dumbledore's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna let you go back off to the train station and go get on a date. I'm just gonna drop you off at the Weasley house. So he gets dropped off to the Weasley house, which Hermione gets dropped off at now, right before class. I guess their parents find that easier for them to deal with, so she just ends up at the Weasley house. Apparently, younger Weasley is of certain age to become a romantic interest to Harry. We just let that happen. When you're an adult, the age doesn't matter, but I notice that there's still an age difference here, so that's a little weird. It looks like the Weasley twins are out of school because they're working at that magic shop. They're out of Hogwarts. So HRH end up going to the magic store. They get a bunch of stuff from the Weasley brothers, whatever, and they're out gallivanting around Magic Town that's been messed up by the Death Eaters. They follow Draco. It sounds like a Nancy Drew or Harvey Boys thing where, oh, look, they look suspicious, let's follow them. So they do that. Draco is with known Death Eaters that are on the loose. They see him, but they don't have any proof about that. They kind of see it. They're at that bookstore, that furniture store, Books and Bunions or whatever. I forgot the name is shown to us a million times. I don't retain that information. Before the kids end up going to school, there is a noticeable factor that the parents have finally acknowledged that Hogwarts isn't that safe. God, it's took you like 5-6 films before you come to that conclusion that Hogwarts is where all your kids almost die at least once a year. Come on. There's a scene where they're on the train where Harry just gets so perturbed at Draco because Dark Prince Chosen One, whatever. Harry's just watching him. He grabs his invisible cloak and tries to continuously just sneak on Malfoy, which is a little weird. That's a little bit extreme, but you know, Harry's the friggin' chosen one, so I guess he's gotta be proactive with this crap. And he gets caught by Draco, trying to just watch him continuously. And there's a scene where he gets caught and Harry doesn't get up, Harry doesn't do anything, Harry's just like paralyzed on the floor, he's just not moving. And Draco breaks his nose. That's for my dad, because you put my dad behind Azkaban. And I'm like, well, he deserved it, but, you know, I'd be pissed at the person who put my dad behind bars in that scenario, I guess, if you think that evil isn't really a relative term and this is what you're chosen to do, and I don't know. But Harry just sits there and stares, and he just takes that beating. It's a weird way to deserve it. Anyway, it's that strange scene that's not necessary, but it's in there, and then Lucy finds him just kind of, not even passed out, just kind of accepting that, yeah, I put your dad in prison. Lucy picks him up, and I'm pretty sure Lucy has magical autism. She seems to be on the spectrum. It's okay. She ends up being the more weirdly logical person in this whole universe. I did laugh at the point where we talk about Hogwarts not being safe. There's a line that Harry says to HRH while at the Weasley household of, Hogwarts safe? It's the safest spot in the world, or what? You know that that's not true. If anything, that's the epicenter for everything bad happening. So we get a weird scene with the Belichicks, or Helena Carter, Bottom Carter, Helena Bottom Carter, the Belichicks, whatever Death Eater, whatever the hell, Azkaban escapee prisoners, whatever, they meet with Snape, and this is like not even a reveal. It just happens in the film, and you just accept it, because once again, this film is relying on you to read the books first. So if you're watching it like me, who not necessarily interested in reading the books or have time for the fiction, the large and detailed fiction that J.K. Rowling put out, it is the goal of the filmmaker to adapt that material suitably enough so the audience gets exactly what the original author is trying to portray. Snape is just shown with the newspaper pop down and said, okay, yep, I'm a baddie. I'll take the solid oath to make sure that Draco fulfill his destiny or whatever. I'm in charge of Draco. So there's no like mystery reveal of him being an actual bad guy for Voldemort. Now, the films have obviously set that up. There's big pretense and assumptions that Snape is a baddie. But it was always, as I mentioned before, my interpretation was that it was always in the guise of the older adult, which was kind of screwed over in his younger youth. The films still portray him as this weird anti-hero figure. In the beginning, before I know what else happens in the film, kind of gives you a little hint of like, oh, maybe he's doing this to backstab, you know, whatever, in the end. That's not the actual case throughout. He's just a baddie. Alan Rickman plays the role he's meant to play many a time. Nothing wrong with that, mind you. It's just the delivery of Snape actual true intentions. It's just a pill you gotta swallow right off. And most people already do it. I was just kind of hoping for something interesting to happen. That's not the case. He's just right into it. That's how it is. All right, so the kids get to Hogwarts, and it's locked down. Oh, a lot of teen eyes, because all these are older teens. Everybody's screwing each other. I'm pretty sure, and if they're about to. And that's evident here because you've got this continuous love triangle. I'm going to try not to say it many times, but Ron's an idiot. Love him to death, but God, he's a lovable idiot. And that Hermione just wants to be with him. The teen drama of Ron ended up getting with this other nice, alluring young lady on his end ends up being a mistake in the long run, and it's really annoying, and there's just an on and off thing I don't want to talk about too much because that's just what teen dramas do. So we get to the beginning of the school year. You get to the usual beginning of the school year speech, the Dumbledore says. This one's exceptionally short, as he just introduces Horace as the Potion Master, which means that Snape moves from Potion Master to Dark Arts Professor, which is never a good thing, and this is just a continual sign that this is going to go wrong. Actual security at Hogwarts now, as I mentioned. There's a weird thing where McGonagall forces Ron and Harry to go to the potions to be with Horace. This is where we start to see something else that happens in the real world. This is where the movie starts going incredibly tone deaf. And I insinuated earlier that it seems like Horace wants to be acknowledged by his students as a very good professor and needs that acknowledgement. The unfortunate part is that does not translate very well to film. In fact, this film makes a very strong indicator that Horace is a pederast. I don't say this lightly. It's pretty damn obvious. If you watch this, the students come over. This is set in the UK in a reality where the professors and students drink together. And I know that is, in the States, that is a no-no. In Europe, it is still kind of a gray area. However, this film doesn't acknowledge that he needs the appreciation from students to be a better teacher or anything, that he likes being with his student. It's not translated very well, so instead you've got this creepy old guy who wants to be with younger kids and is trying to groom them. That's what this looks like. This looks like grooming. I would say Google it, but don't do that. So they get into the potions class that Horace is teaching. Harry gets a secondhand book in the, you haven't bought a book yet, so use one of these ones. Harry picks up a potion book that has an abundance of notes from this half-blood prince. No one knows what this is. He just basically gets cheats. He gets cliff notes in his book. And it ended up working out to his advantage. He makes the best potions out of everybody and gets the potion of luck, which no one else has won. It's very rare that it happens. So Horace awards this to him. So this is this is the MacGuffin that's going to be used later. Harry's got this book and he keeps it on him. There's no indicator that it's magical. It's just a book for potions with lots of great notes in it, and excellent notes. So Harry gets this and he makes the greatest potions ever. There gets to a point where Dumbledore asks him to go into his office and talk to him. So here's this memory of Tom Riddle talking to Horace when he used to teach here 50 years ago, whatever that time frame is. He talks to him about, okay, I need to know, I went to the restricted library and I learned about magic that wasn't supposed to be taught to kids, and it was like this fake lie, which is half real, half covered up, and you can't hear anything on purpose. So Dumbledore wants to know why that is, because Horace knows something that would help him out, but instead of Dumbledore asking Horace directly, he uses Harry, like he uses Harry all the time with his abundance of knowledge. Harry is the key to Dumbledore trying to solve all this stuff at all times. When I mentioned that Horace is grooming kids, and the other teachers and professors are acknowledging this, McGonagall pushed them into that class. Dumbledore insinuates that, Harry, you need to get buddy-buddy with Horace. And at this point, there is a clear line in this film that Harry says, do you want Horace to collect me? Paraphrasing. But that particular line is enough for me to just shudder, because it's more clear than ever that this is grooming, this pederast grooming. I had my friend tell me that I was texting him this entire time because he's interested to see where I'm going with this. My friend Nick specifically says that in the books it's very much thought out, clearly insinuated why Horace acts this way. The film jumps the gun and assumes you know, but if you're like a parent of a kid watching this movie, you're cringing a little bit. You're like, what the hell is this? You might even have to ask your kid, is that a little bit off? And then the kid might even correct you for you. It's all sorts of awkward, man. Dumbledore becomes that creepy uncle that's like, hey, you like this? I want you to do this thing for me. And Harry's in the palm of his hand the entire time. He's like, yeah, okay, because you're the greatest wizard ever, and you've done nothing but save my butt, even though you've enabled all these things to happen for the sake of destiny. We'll see that more and more. Anyway, Harry is head of Quidditch. Don't care after one night of drinking, or day drinking, I should say, H comes back to the dorms and one of the students get attacked with some medallion that is actually meant for Dumbledore. So somebody's trying to kill Dumbledore. Loosely hinted at, Harry just outwardly says, oh, it's Draco's fault, because he's got in his head that Draco's going to kill him and all that stuff. It's just, Harry's got somewhat of a not 100% there thought process that we know is true as the watcher, but as everybody else in the universe, they're like, there's no guarantee that's going to happen for Draco. Harry and Ron have this weird bro talk about girls smelling nice. It's awkward. This is where the tone just gets weird. If you set up a danger and then it becomes a film where you don't know if it's a rom-com, you all of a sudden have like this strange sci-fi Lord of the Rings thing that starts out, and then it becomes this weird teenage rom-com where you've got slightly creepy teacher dude Horace having kids over, and the rom-com thing's happening on top of that, which is just really awkward and just straight up strange. And the will they, won't they, Hermione, Ron, whatever. Yeah, it got to the weirdest film because I didn't know if I was watching a comedy. I didn't know if I was watching a sci-fi fantasy film. I didn't know if I was watching a drama. There's a lot of different tones that just kind of mess together and they don't mesh well. At this point, the Order of the Phoenix getting together again and trying to figure out if Snape is a baddie or not. It took you this long to acknowledge it. There's a strange scene where Helena Bonham Carter and the rest of the Azkaban escapees end up going to the Weasley household during Christmas time, and they lure out the family to have a chase in the corn maze or wheat maze or whatever the farm that the Weasleys live near. It's just a way to piss off the family and the Order of the Phoenix to display some power because they just burn the house down. Besides the psychological games that are being played, there's no real reason for it. It just happens. They're just fucking with Harry. Dumbledore asks Harry to enlist help once again to lure out Horace and try to figure out what the thing is. So he really pushes on him this time. So Harry goes and he tries to pull the, hey, what magic can you get me? The same thing that Tom Riddle asked. Horace is like, oh, I'm not going. Nope, we're not talking about it. Not angry, but just in this, nope, we're sidetracking this because that's inappropriate. So this is the first time you see Horace actually being like, ooh, that's very inappropriate. So that's the first time it's clear that, okay, maybe he's not a pederast, but Dumbledore assumes he is. But why would you hire Horace back then at the school if you have thoughts of him being, just don't do it. Try to figure out another way. He already talked to him in the beginning of the film. You could have gotten that out that way, but no, you gotta have him in a school where you thought he was a pederast. Thankfully he's not, but it's not clear to the viewer if he is or not. It's creepy and it's persistent throughout the film. Horace doesn't tell Harry, so Harry's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back. And then Ron drinks a love potion that was intended for Harry by accident. So Harry uses Ron as a reason to get to Horace again to suss these things out that Dumbledore needs to find out. Nothing happens from that. While that happens, we realize that the love potion, isn't truly a love potion as much as it was a poison that was put in a bottle that was supposed to go to Dumbledore, that Horace was gonna give Dumbledore. I don't know, it's the second really horrible, pathetic attempt on Dumbledore's life. It's not very good execution from the would-be assassin. Everybody knows this now, so it's kind of weird. Harry has enough of Draco's bullshit, right? That's enough for him to be like, Draco's the reason why all this is happening. Draco doesn't like the fact that he's doing all these things. It's not very clear at this point. You can put it together at the end of the film. But at this point in time, I was like, well, Draco's just having a mental breakdown here because his dad's gone. He's part of the initiated, part of the chosen ones again for Voldemort's lackeys. And he's got himself this wardrobe that's really cool that transports things. It's not very subtle. They keep using the same footage again of him taking the blanket off. I don't know why it was intended this way. I guess it was to make it look kind of artsy-fartsy and set up the storyline later down in the film. But there's no real reason for him to keep taking off and putting the bird and then the apple, and he's learning how to use the wardrobe thing for later on in the film. Yeah, so Harry takes enough of this bullshit. He confronts Draco. They have a shootout in the school, in a men's laboratory. So they have a shootout, basically. Just envision wands, but guns. They let kids have guns, basically. And this is a very quick fight, mind you. Harry shoots Malfoy multiple times with his energy blast or whatever the hell. Malfoy's on the ground. Snape is behind him because Snape's got to watch over the kid. He took the oath to watch over Draco. You don't see Malfoy breathing or talking or anything. He's just laying there. And Harry runs off. And it looks like Harry kills Draco. And it looks like it because there was a handful of seconds where this all happened in like a 30-second run. And I literally looked at my phone to check what the time is, and I put it down, and Draco's on the ground dead. And then Harry runs away, and then Snape heals him, brings him back to life. He probably wasn't dead, but it looked that way by the time I put my phone down. What did I miss? Hold on, I missed something. And I was like, what the hell happened? I had to back this up because the editing and the placement of this is so rushed and oddly framed. I thought I missed something. I didn't. It was just that quick. Like I said, if the tone turned earlier into something weird and hodgepodgey, this one started flipping. He doesn't know what else to do. More evidence that Malfoy is doing all these things, that Draco is doing all these things. Harry doesn't know this, so you know what? He throws his hands up, drinks that luck potion that he won from his potion classes. So he's like, you know what? He just drinks the luck potion. He goes, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And he acts like he's a little weird asshole drunk. And instead of going to talk to Horace, like Hermione's logically saying, he's like, no, I'm gonna go talk to Hagrid. Sounds like a good time, because you need some time with Hagrid in every film. So you go to Hagrid, and of course Horace is there, drinking with Hagrid. Hagrid's spider dies. This is where I laughed, too, at the response, because this is the same spider that if you remember, I think it was the first or second film back, this is the same spider that was going to let his kids eat Ron and Harry, if not for the magic car that has no explanation whatsoever. that saved them during that weird cave scene. So instead of Harry explaining that to Hagrid and saying, he tried to kill us once. What? And then just go back to whatever, which would have matched the weird tone. It's just Harry's like, just hanging out. It's a funeral thing. That's cool. And then it gets weird funeral scene, which probably isn't necessary, but it opens up the whole guise for Horace to get drunk, and then Harry really pushing his buttons because he doesn't care. He's got a bolt of confidence to go against Horace, and Horace does the weird memory stick trick, gives him his little memory in a vial. So Harry goes to Dumbledore's and they do the whole seer in the thing. This is where the movie takes forever to get to. So we get back to Dumbledore's place, where Dumbledore and Harry look at the little vial that Horace gave him for memory of what actually happened with the conversation with Tom Riddle. And then they talk about Horcruxes, specifically 7. I don't know why. There are 7 Horcruxes where you can split up your soul and put them into each of these things and live forever because you can never die. It is explained that Tom Riddle's book, that was the first Horcrux. That makes a little more sense. Then you get to see other things tie in all of a sudden. This is where things start falling into place, at least for the film. In the book, that could have happened earlier, I don't know. But as watching it, I'm going, oh, okay, so the ring is 1, the book is 1, and this is where I went a little nuts. So I haven't seen the last 2 films. This is the point where I send my friend Nick a text saying, if Voldemort puts life essence into Harry Potter, which in turn, one of them must die, right? There's all this thing. Someone's got to die out of this. Is it because Harry Potter is basically a Horcrux? He is not an item, per se, but I suppose if you were putting it into things, a baby would be a thing. So, if someone took Voldemort's soul, and you put it into the book, and you put it into the ring, and then you put it into this clock thing, which is an entire adventure that Dumbledore and Harry go on. They go to Voldemort's Fortress of Solitude, and they get another medallion, and it goes through the whole thing. Anyway, this is the most Lord of the Rings this film has ever looked. Apparently it's the 15th most expensive film of all time. I don't know. Dumbledore looked like Gandalf at this point, which makes sense because they think that they get another Horcrux because they're just counting him down. Dumbledore gets there. They get at the clock tower at Hogwarts. You finally figure out that Draco has been learning how to use the wardrobe to successfully take all the prisoners and the the Belichics into Hellenbottom Cardinal and the rest of the Death Eaters into Hogwarts. Dumbledore is very much hurt, and he's like, go get Snape. Trust me. Harry doesn't go get Snape, and he hides downstairs underneath the clock tower portion you can see. At this point, you see Draco, I'm gonna kill you, Dumbledore. This is and Dumbledore being like, you're a kid, you're not meant to do this, I can help you. And Draco's like, no, I've accepted my destiny. He really hasn't, but he's like, this is what I gotta do, because the story deems me important to do this. And the lackeys get there, so you got all the baddies up here, and then Snape appears down below with Harry, and he's like, no, don't do anything, I'll take care of it. So Snape goes up top, and this is where I thought the anti-hero was gonna come in, and this is where I was deemed wrong, which is what I was talking about earlier in the beginning of the film, where Snape just fucking kills Dumbledore. Was really hoping that wasn't gonna be the case, and maybe Draco actually does it and becomes, the dark whatever. Nah, it's always been Snape. So the death of Dumbledore, Snape and everybody just kind of goes through the common areas of the school, and it's very much a symbiotic end of Hogwarts. Right after the death, and you see the baddies just kind of storming around everywhere, and then they all leave together. Everybody knows what the score is. They do the lighter in the sky thing. Excellent musical cues. That was shot well, and I would imagine if I was a teen in the theater, I would probably be crying, man. If I read the books and all that stuff and I really like Dumbledore. Unfortunately, Dumbledore seems like the really weird, creepy uncle who, in the films, was viewed as an enabler, was viewed as, I may know more than you think, until in the later films when it's cued in that he has no friggin' clue. And McGonagall tells Harry that meant a lot to him because, he did drop them off, all 3 of them, Hagrid, McGonagall, and Dumbledore together off at the horrible cousin's house, thinking that was a good idea. Dumbledore makes bad decisions, and he made a bad one here by trusting Snape. Hopefully that changes. We have 2 films that have the same storyline, so. We're at the end of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Pros. The teens did a great job with whatever material that they're given. This script is not strong, but I really enjoyed watching them chew on certain scenes, which I kind of wish were done in earlier films, but they're kids, so you can only do so much progression, I suppose. The first handful of films are you to set the tone for your entire franchise that you signed your life away to. I will say the end is was good. I was a little surprised. I didn't realize that Snape was I was really hoping the anti-hero thing would happen. This is just me probably not wanting to acknowledge what was gonna happen, but the lead and build-up made sense. Cons. Oh boy, do I have a lot of them. I watched this film with great anticipation, and I just wish that this was more cohesive. I knew that I was missing a lot of information from the books. My friend Nick helped me clarify some stuff. Execution of being placed of like certain hints. The films could have done a better job at building that suspense and building that story, so the framing devices that were used, like the weird flashbacks with Malfoy, Draco using the wardrobe to use it as the final transport in and out. I mean, that was utilized very oddly. That didn't fit the rest of the film. The rest of the film didn't use that quick edit cuts, flashback cuts of the same footage being used over and over again. Editing on certain action scenes and then going back to a weird comedy teen rom-com, that didn't hold up very well for me. I found that very jarring in the end. I really just wanted the last third of the film to kind of be the tone. This is what I'm looking forward to, because I think this is the black sheep out of all of the other films. A couple of the other ones were entertaining, but like, nah. This one, I thought they could have had a really good film on and just executed it so poorly that I just don't know what to say about it. I'm happy to look forward to Deathly Hallows. The next one I'm going to try to combine both parts 1 and 2 is the final storyline of this entire book franchise, film franchise, so I'm going to try to combine it together into one review. Hopefully this won't be another 30-minute one. It's probably going to be a longer one, and then I'll have another episode part where I have my conclusions about the entire film franchise and my thoughts. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm a little discerned with the way this one was put together, but I am looking forward to the last two. So once again, I'm John, and thanks for watching Muggle Studies 101.